February, we're talking about building a roofing business from scratch and getting a business started. So first question, what motivated you to start your own roofing company? So for me, I was always pretty motivated to be an entrepreneur. I feel like, for myself, I felt like at a young age, I was called to be an entrepreneur. I just felt that like calling, that urge to be a business owner. And I always wanted to do that. And, when the opportunity presented itself for me to kind of go off my own and start my own business, I jumped at it. And, one of the motivating factors was, I worked for a company that I saw grow really, really fast. And I also saw an opportunity to kind of do things a little bit differently. Not right, not wrong, but, I think a lot of us may think that, or may see opportunities from a perspective of, if they can do it, I can do it. Or if, the people are doing something a certain way, I always had a unique way of looking at things, and I wanted to do it my own way and figure it out on my own. So that's what caused me to start my own roofing company. Number two, what were the first steps you took when starting your business? So here's the thing. The first thing I did, and this wasn't very scientific, when I started my roofing company, the first thing I did, I actually stayed up almost all night long. I was traveling. I was working for another company. I was storm chasing, and I just got this idea, like, you know what, I'm going to do this. I'm going to do it on my own. So I stayed up all night, and I made as long and detailed of a list as I possibly could of all the things that I thought I needed to do. So I started by creating a list, and this was kind of like a business plan. I thought about all the aspects of, the branding, the marketing, the registration of my business, getting my licenses, make sure I had the right licenses, make sure I registered the business, make sure I had the insurance I needed. So I just created a checklist, and I started working my way down that checklist. And at the same time, I was able to hire I actually called my mom and hired her to be my first kind of admin. So she helped me run the office and helped me, check a lot of these boxes. But ultimately what I did, three things actually. One, knock doors. So I brought some people on with me and convinced them to come work for me. And we went and knocked doors just to get our first jobs. Then what I did very soon after that, I started a networking organization, a networking group, and that was able to help me get my name out there. And then I also, started recruiting and hiring other sales reps to kind of help me do that as well. So those are the three key things that I did: follow the checklist and go, pound the pavement, knock some doors, and get some jobs going. That's how I started. What mistakes did you make in the early years? I definitely made a lot of mistakes. Early on, one of the big mistakes I made was in marketing. I hired someone to build my website, and they owned the website, and it was kind of like a friend of a friend, and it didn't work out so well. So they owned the website. So my first go at having a website for my business, they built a website. It wasn't very good. And also the guy ended up ghosting me and kind of disappearing on me. And I didn't own my domain. I didn't, own any of that content. So I had to completely reset that whole process. So that was a big mistake. I think another big mistake was I hired a lot of people real quick, and I just tried to recruit as many people as I can. And I didn't have a system in place for that. So I think, hiring and putting salespeople out in the streets, trying to get them to sell roofs without having a training system, without having a hiring process, without having a system to follow, it created a lot of turnover and created some chaos and some internal systems that were pretty broken and processes that we didn't have down. Another mistake I made was I didn't have a real good grasp of my finances. I didn't pay a whole lot of attention to the money coming in and out, and I just thought I had money, and we were just trying to make things happen. So I didn't have a really good financial discipline, financial system to follow. So I didn't know exactly where my money was. So I wasn't paying attention to, my P&L statements, my monthly statements, and cash flow statements. So those are a few key mistakes that I made when I started my roofing company. What would you do differently if you started over? This one's tricky because I've gotten this question a lot. Like, what would you do differently if you started your business over? And I think the reality of it is I wouldn't do a whole lot different. Yes, I made lots of mistakes, but starting my roofing company was the second go around. I had already started a construction company, and that's where I failed. I made all the mistakes. I didn't figure it all out. I was trying to do all the things, trying to wear all the hats in the business, and just didn't have a good grasp of what I was doing. But I learned so much from that when I actually started my roofing company, I was able to avoid some of those mistakes. Still made a ton of mistakes, but here's the thing. I learned from my mistakes. So I wouldn't really change a whole lot, because I worked hard, I hustled, and I learned really, really fast as I possibly could. When I made a mistake, I adjusted, I fixed it, and I made it better. And I did that as fast and as often as I possibly could. And that helped me accelerate the growth of myself as a business owner and as an entrepreneur. It also helped me accelerate the growth of my business. How did you manage your finances when you first started out? So I'm going to answer how did I manage my finances? Two perspectives. When I very, very, very first started my very first business, I was on my own. I started a construction company, and I tried to do all the books and all the cash management myself. And I essentially just managed it as if it was cash in, cash out on a monthly basis. And I would drive around on the weekends and try to write checks to whoever I could afford to pay on the weekend or on Fridays. And I'd pay my subs, and I'd pay my invoices, my vendors, and I tried to track everything as best I could in a accounting software. I used QuickBooks. And that was really tricky because I didn't do a great job at that. I was kind of running it kind of like I was running like a hustle or running my own household, and that didn't work very well. So I was just basically, flying by the seat of my pants at first. The second time around, I was a lot better because I hired somebody right away. One of the first hires I made was an admin, an office manager, someone that I trusted, that I knew was really detailed and really good with finances and really good with budgeting. So I kind of took it off my own plate and delegated it to somebody pretty early and give them some autonomy to, let them kind of create some systems and implement software, and to implement a accounting software, and started tracking things pretty quickly and early. So that helped me get a little better grasp. I still made a lot of mistakes. I still spent way more money than I should have, but we survived, and we were able to figure it out. And now we are able to thrive as well. What advice do you have for somebody who's just starting a roofing company? If you're just starting out, you're just getting your company going, first and foremost, I think you got to understand the concept of betting on yourself. When you become an entrepreneur, when you start a business, whether it's your first one or you've tried it a few other times, but when you start a business, you got to understand you are betting on yourself, not anyone else. It's up to you to make it happen. So you have to go all in. You can't have one foot in the door and one foot out of the door. You can't tiptoe your way in. You got to go all in. And as John Maxwell says, you got to jump off the bridge and start building your wings on the way down. So first step, if you're starting a new business, the best advice I can give to you is go all in. And you got to understand that you're going to be uncomfortable. You're going to be challenged. You're going to make mistakes. You're going to have to do things that you just don't want to do, but you got to understand it's a rite of passage. You got to do the things, you got to put in the effort, and you got to learn and make as many mistakes as you possibly can that aren't detrimental, but make those mistakes and learn and grow. Make a mistake, learn, grow. And then as you grow, fix things and implement things and make it better. And it's a really good idea to probably to find, mentors and coaches to help you along this journey, because you can kind of help you accelerate your growth a little bit. How important is branding? So when I started my company, I kind of realized pretty early that branding is pretty important. I think it's very important. It's really hard to do early on in your business, but I think starting out when you first get a business going, you have to understand that you have to allocate effort and eventually more and more money towards branding. My objective was to create a brand that I could build into a household name in my market. It took a number of years to do that, but it started with the details, with the name. What did I name my company? What colors did I choose? What themes did I choose? What kind of mission statements? What kind of slogans? All those things contributed to building a brand that we can multiply and that we can build off of, that ultimately has become a household name brand in my market. So I think branding is really important, and you need to put efforts towards branding early on. It's going to be hard to put money towards branding because you don't always see a direct ROI right away. So you're going to have to put efforts towards branding. Make sure you have a really good logo, really good brand, really good brand images and slogans and colors and all the things that contribute to a good brand. Make sure you own that and you wear it proudly, and you put it on your trucks and your shirts and your hats, and make that look as good and as clean as possible, and make sure it all looks uniform. Your door hangers, your shirts, your trucks, your website, they should all look uniform. I should be able to look at any one of those things and recognize that it's the same brand very quickly. I don't need to have to look at something for a long period of time to have to figure it out. Think about that when you think about branding when you start your roofing company. What role does networking play in the roofing industry? Oh man, networking. So when I started, and to this day, I still spend a lot of time networking. I've been doing this for 20 years, and I'm not in the day-to-day of my business nearly as much as I used to be. But one of the things I still do quite a bit is network. Networking has played such a key role in me building out my roofing company and building out my own career. Early on, I found a local networking group that allowed me to just show up once a week and meet different people, other business owners, people in the community, and that helped me get a foothold in my little area, my little community, and started to help me get business. It taught me how to connect with people. It taught me how to, set up opportunities, and actually the key there is taught me how to give other people business and how to help others grow their business. And the concept of networking is giver's gain. The more you can go to a networking situation and go there with a mindset of trying to give and help others, it'll reciprocate. It'll reciprocate back to you. So, don't network yourself just with an objective of trying to get what you want to get. Go into networking and use it as a tool to give to others, and it'll come back to you tenfold. I promise you that. And then on the bigger picture in the industry, whatever industry you're in, if it's roofing or some other industry, connecting with others and networking with other people is vitally important. I've gone to countless, probably hundreds of conferences, and still to this day, the most important thing I gain from every conference I go to is my network and the people I connect with and the people that I've built relationships with. And I've learned so many things from those people. I've done business, countless amounts of business with different people that I've learned and I've connected with through networking. So even if it's not natural for you, you've got to put yourself out there. If you're going to build a business, I don't care what industry you're in, you have to network. You have to be involved in your community of your business, in your local community, as well as networking groups. Be very intentional about how you network and how you connect with people. Remember, givers gain. What was my biggest aha moment in the early stages? I'm going to give you two. In the first few years of my business, we actually did pretty well. We scaled and we doubled 2 years, 3 years in a row. And I thought that I had the Midas touch. I was like, in my mind, I thought we had it all figured out and that we were going to grow and scale this business like crazy overnight. So I did that. I tried to push. I tried to open new offices, and I spread myself and my team really, really thin. So, my aha moment was, in order to grow my business, I didn't have to open a whole bunch of offices all over the place. I just had to focus and keep the main thing the main thing. Another aha moment was that if I wanted to build a great team, I had to have a sales system. I had to have a way to hire and teach and train salespeople how to not only sell my product or my service, in my case it was roofing, but also sell my brand and sell my company. So that was a massive aha moment. Once I figured out that we had to do that, and I hired people and I researched the industry, and I was able to create my own system, my own sales process for my company, that was an absolute aha moment and defining moment that led to and has led to some incredible success. I wish you the greatest success possible, and have a great day.